In an age without answers, the question you must face is not the world's, but your own. It was the time of the judges, an age when everyone went their own way. There was no direction, no shared standard, and no king. Life repeated itself in the same cycle, falling, crying out, and falling again. The past was relived over and over, yet no one could break free from it. Each person did what was right in their own eyes. The northern tribes turned to all kinds of idols, while the people in the south, in their weakness, drifted into the comfort of the present moment. Yet in the midst of such confusion and loss of direction, there was a woman who continued to choose what was right. She was gentle and humble, diligent and steadfast, and in days unseen by others, she did not turn aside from the path of integrity. It was this character that shaped the choices she made at crucial moments, and those choices quietly led her out of a cyclical age and into the unfolding plan of God. Her name was Ruth. She came from Moab, a world that stood in opposition to Israel throughout history, outside the covenant and outside the path of promise. In Israel's memory, Moab remained an opposing force. Her life, at the beginning, did not belong to the story this people told. On this land, far from the blessings of Israel, another story was quietly unfolding. At this time, Bethlehem was suffering from famine. A woman named Naomi, under the pressure of hunger, left Bethlehem with her husband and 2 sons, setting out toward the foreign land of Moab. It was a time when leaving was unavoidable, as famine drove them into unfamiliar territory. During their years in Moab, Naomi's 2 sons married Moabite women. One of them would later become deeply bound to her life, Ruth. In a foreign land, they lived through quiet days together, through marriage and labor, attempting to put down roots, slowly shaping a sense of home on unfamiliar ground. But this brief sense of stability did not last long. Death quietly entered the household. First, Naomi's husband died, and the foundation of the family was gone. Not long after, both sons followed, leaving 3 women under the same roof with a future suddenly unclear. In the midst of this desolation, Naomi heard a report from Bethlehem. The famine was receding, the land was responding once again to human labor, and the fields were yielding grain. The Lord had shown favor to his people, and the land that once lay barren was showing signs of life again. This news brought clarity to a direction long silent within Naomi's heart. She spoke of this decision to the 2 women beside her. It was not an easy moment to voice, but a path that had to be made clear, and so she prepared to return. She urged them to return, each to her mother's home, and begin life again. Orpah, with tears in her eyes, said farewell to Naomi. After a final kiss, she turned away and returned to Moab, to her people, and to the life she had known. Ruth wept and refused to leave. She stayed close to Naomi, and in that moment, she spoke a single sentence that would change her life.
Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me.
And so they set out together, beginning the journey toward Bethlehem. When they returned to Bethlehem, the whole city was stirred. Women gathered, speaking among themselves, recognizing her, calling out her name. Naomi heard it and stopped among the crowd.
Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter.
They settled in Moab, and life slowly found its rhythm. Ruth continued to care for the household, taking on the work that needed to be done. As people came to know her, they saw her steady devotion day after day, noticed her diligence and character, and her name began to be mentioned and remembered among the people. According to the law, the grain left in the fields was to remain for the poor, the widow, and the foreigner, and Ruth was among them. The field belonged to a wealthy man in the town, whose name was Boaz, a close relative of the family of Elimelech. He was well known in Bethlehem, a man of great property, and he often came to the fields himself to see how the harvest was going. That day, he noticed Ruth. He knew her reputation, her loyalty and diligence in a foreign land, and all that she had done for Naomi. So Boaz spoke to her, telling her to remain in this field and to glean alongside his servant women. He allowed her to gather freely, without fear, and no one was permitted to trouble her. Boaz invited Ruth to come and eat with the harvesters. He gave her food, and she sat with his servants, ate until she was satisfied, and had some left over. Boaz instructed his men to pull out stalks from the bundles and drop them on purpose, so that she might gather them, and they were not to rebuke her. So Ruth continued to glean in the field until evening. That day she gathered a great amount, and when she beat out what she had gleaned, it came to about an ephah of barley. When she returned home, Ruth showed Naomi what she had gathered. She told her everything that had happened that day, speaking of her time in the fields and how the man had shown her kindness. So Ruth stayed close to the servant women of Boaz and continued to glean day after day in the fields, from the beginning of the barley harvest until the end of the wheat harvest. The days passed slowly through her labor, and she continued to live with Naomi. During the days they lived together, Naomi considered Ruth's future. She urged Ruth not to remain in her present circumstances, but to seek a place of rest and a secure home. She hoped that Ruth might marry again. So Naomi told Ruth that Boaz was a man of integrity and steady in his ways. She knew that when the harvest was finished, he remained at the threshing floor, personally overseeing the grain, guarding what had been threshed, and staying there through the night until everything was settled. So Ruth did exactly as Naomi had instructed her. She prepared herself quietly, washed, anointed herself, and arranged her garments. When the preparations were complete, she set out, went down to the threshing floor, and made her way to where Boaz was. Ruth did as she had been instructed. She took note of where Boaz lay and waited until everything was still. Then she went quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down there. Night settles over the threshing floor, and everything grows still. Boaz awakens in the darkness and senses another presence beside him. He asks, seeking to know who shares this quiet space. He speaks of what he knows. In the town, her character is known, how she cared for Naomi and did not seek her own advantage. He recognizes her as a woman of noble character. Ruth then states her request, asking Boaz to spread his garment over her because he is a close relative with the duty of a redeemer, willing to take responsibility, yet made it clear that there was a closer kinsman and the matter had to be settled in order. Then he gave her grain so she would not return empty-handed, a sign of responsibility accepted. Before daylight, Boaz instructed his servants that no one should know a woman had been at the threshing floor. The matter remained within order. Before morning, Ruth left carrying the grain and returned to Naomi. Ruth returned home and recounted to Naomi all that had taken place. Naomi said, "Rest assured." Boaz entered the public square. People moved around him, their footsteps crossing and then gradually dispersing. Before long, the nearer kinsman passed by. Boaz saw him and, among the people, stopped him. Then he turned aside to gather the elders of the city, one by one. And they came and took their seats at the city gate. According to the law, this matter was to be taken up first by the nearer kinsman. Therefore, the matter of the land was brought forward at the city gate, before the elders and all the people. Boaz explained clearly the property that belonged to Elimelech, and he set forth the responsibility that came with it, so that the kinsman might declare his intention before everyone. But when the kinsman heard that redeeming the land also required him to take Ruth the Moabite as wife, in order to preserve the name of the dead upon his inheritance, he was unwilling to redeem it. Before all the people, he stepped back and transferred the right of redemption to Boaz. Then, as a sign of confirmation, the nearer kinsman took off his sandal and gave it to Boaz. In Israel, this was the customary way of confirming the transfer of the right of redemption and exchange. By this act, the matter was settled openly, and the right of redemption was formally passed on. And Boaz took Ruth as his wife. Ruth also settled in the land. The woman who had come from Moab was no longer a sojourner. She found her place in Bethlehem and entered the path God had prepared for her. That night, Boaz was united with her, and in time, the Lord enabled her to conceive. In due time, Ruth gave birth to a son, and new life was born into the household. And when the women of the city heard of it, they came together in joy. They gave thanks for the birth of the child and rejoiced over all that this household had come through. The women said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer. May this child be renowned in Israel. He shall be a restorer of your life and a sustainer in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you, who is better to you than 7 sons, has borne him." Then the neighbor women gave the child a name, saying, "A son has been born to Naomi." And they called his name Obed.